The 3 steps to a successful warm-up for BJJ or the weight room. Now, people tend to skip warm-ups. Hey, I forgive you this time. But you are leaving gains on the table by not warming up right. And we got to talk about it, Joe.
Yeah, I think my take on like people going to the gym and stuff is that on the whole, people are getting better at it. We're getting more educated. I think we're exposed to more training content through social media and stuff. And so, you see more people doing better strength exercises these days.
Sure.
Still see plenty of people doing total bullshit, but I think en masse it's getting better. But I think a lot of folks are still lost about that initial 20 minutes when they get to the gym.
Look, the classic thing which I find is actually holding people back. People go, oh, just go get on the treadmill. You're like, dude, why? What? No. Oh, I've got to elevate my body temperature. You're like, no, that's not going to make you stronger. Like,
that's what a trainer told me to do 15 years ago when I had a complimentary PT session as part of my $17 a week, 24-hour gym membership.
Don't get me wrong. Yes, you do need to elevate your body temperature. It's true. Yes, I agree. But don't think doing jumping jacks or running on a treadmill or some bullshit is going to make you stronger or better prepared for BJJ. It's just, that is not the right way to come at it. Let's talk about how we can, in a very short period of time, get people primed to get fucking strong.
Yeah, so like, and I guess the other part of it too is, and I'm thinking particularly about people using our programs, when you are newer in the strength journey, you're not lifting a huge amount of weight, right? You're not doing high intensity strength training yet. So your warm-ups don't need to be as big as when you're further down the line and have more training under your belt, you're going to be lifting bigger loads.
Sure. You're
going to need a more considerable warm-up.
Yeah, but
I think the same principles apply.
Definitely. And it's more just the habit.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing. Like, jiu-jitsu in some ways, and we've discussed it before, you can kind of get away with coming in like, maybe you come in a bit late, just do the first little, oh, I missed the warm-up. And so even though we know that this can over time lead to injury, it's not necessarily the way straight up. But if you're someone who's trying to get stronger, doing a really good warm-up that ticks these 3 boxes will set you up for strength success, as opposed to just kind of wandering in, a bit of this, and then, I'll just pick the bar up,
Yeah.
So first step, the thing that we've got to acknowledge is that if you've just sat in the car for half an hour, you've driven to the gym, whatever, you got stuck in traffic, you're on the train, you've been sitting down all day, we got to limber up. Like, we have to remove the fucking handbrakes, folks, because you've been in these postures and the positions, that doesn't mean it's conducive to lifting. So the thing that I always try to do for myself, and if I'm working with anybody to help them, it's to remove these things which may limit their ability to be strong. So let me explain. My example of this is, if someone is squatting or deadlifting and they need strong hip extension, if they've been sitting down all day, typically there'd be this shortened position at the hip, and so spending a bit of time doing some lunging and doing some work which opens up through the front of the hip and gets the glute switched on actually serves as a bit of a correction for that. And then after that, they're like, oh, they stand a bit taller, a bit straighter, and their body is primed to now do the thing. Have you got something that you like to do with folks, Joe?
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, front of the hip, little bit of like squatting, like just getting into a squat, deep, hanging out there a bit.
Yep.
Pushing the knees out, opening up the hips, lengthening the spine, and some hanging.
Hanging's great.
I'm thinking of like the 3 things that I will kind of just habitually do, usually while I'm thinking about what I'm actually going to do.
Sure.
I'll just start doing that.
Yeah. My go-to for the upper body is a dislocate. Like, I love a dislocate, whether you've got a piece of timber like a dowel or a band, just because it does stretch the pecs, it opens up the chest, but it also gets the upper back, rear delts, rhomboids. It gets all that fired up, and it also gets you a bit straighter.
Yeah.
It gets the thoracic spine opened up, and it really ticks a lot of boxes without a lot of effort.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah. But absolutely, like, I think as you become more in tune with what your body's feeling, you do get a sense of what you need that day.
Yes.
And you also start to anticipate what you're going to be doing in the session, right?
Yeah.
Like, say if I'm if I'm going into the gym, I've been working standards, the new standards program lately, right? And if I'm going in and I know that it's the upper body day, I don't spend much time loosening up my lower body, right?
No,
I'm hanging, I'm doing some tabletop press, some scap push-ups, I'm doing some, some Cuban rotations. Like it's all shoulder and upper body focused. Likewise on the lower body day, we're all about the legs, right? So it's I think for the general person, keep it general, but as your training starts to branch off into areas of more specificity, you can start to take your warm up towards those directions too.
For sure. The next major checkbox you need to look at is nervous system activation. It's getting your body awake and ready for the task at hand. So talk about optimum arousal. I'm not talking about the bedroom, folks. I'm talking about getting your muscles fired up. So that can look like a variety of things, whether that be broad jumps, hops, kind of bouncing, some dynamic work through the upper body, whether that be like a dynamic push-up or you're doing some rotational work.
Explosive, like fast stuff works really well for this, doesn't it?
Yeah, it gets the nervous system going. Because what this actually does is just like squat jumps on the spot, this demands more of your nervous system than just a normal squat. And so by pulling all these resources in and being like, hey, body, wake up, get these muscles working, by switching on as many muscle fibers as you can by doing this dynamic work, it is better prepared to take load. And then you will be safer and better set up to produce force.
Yeah, I famously, like when I learned this concept as a young PT, and I'm sure there's a fancy name for it, but I was like doing it on everyone. And I remember I used to train my girlfriend at the time. I trained her mum.
Right.
And her little sister.
Right.
And they trained with me for years. They were great.
Awesome.
And the mum, wonderful woman, she started her training journey with me in her late, what was she been, early 50s, I guess. And so, it was like, she'd had 3 kids and, had to be respectful of all that. Anyway, we used to train in this park at Surrey Hills. And what I had learned was, if you take a big, heavy resistance band and you wrap it around someone's waist.
Oh, yeah.
And then you hold on to that so that you're kind of holding them back. And you get them to run as hard as they can.
Yes.
And so I was like, hey, I want you to run as hard as you can I want you to get from there to there. It's like 25 meters.
Under resistance.
And I'm just going to be like hanging back on you and making it hard. And so, she did it, right? Driving with the legs, driving, got it. And then I was like, great. Now we take the band off. And I was like, hey, really cool thing. Now what I want you to do is just come back to the start and I want you to sprint it again, but I'm without the band. I just want you to feel how much faster you are. And she's like, all right. And she fucking took off so quick that she basically she hit the ground. She hit the concrete because she took off so fast. Her balance was all fucked up.
Couldn't control it.
And she was like, oh, and hit the concrete. And I was like, oh God, like middle-aged woman hitting the concrete in a PT session. I'm like, that's terrible. And she was like, what'd you fucking do to me, And I was like, see, man, see how activated you are?
Powerful you are.
Fucking prime that nervous system.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
No, there is a term for this, and some people might know
potentiation?
it as post-activation potentiation.
Right.
So typically, folks might do like a heavy lift, like 3 squats, and then do some squat jumps because your nervous system's so G'd up.
Yeah.
And it's true. Like if you impose a dynamic demand, your body is then prepared to do something where your nervous system is required to do more. But
my favorite way to go about that too is because I want to shorten the warm up.
Sure.
And I know we'll talk about this next, but when I'm doing my warm up sets of whatever exercise, during those warm up sets in the rest periods where I don't actually need much rest because they're warm up sets, I'll do some of the jumping work or whatever.
Dynamic work.
Yeah, and I find I just kind of superset that for maybe 3 rounds or so, and then I'm at my heavy shit.
For sure. And this is the other thing too, and John and I have talked about this before, where doing something dynamic like a hop or a jump, it actually requires more of all the smaller fibers around your knees and ankles, which means proprioceptively, you are actually better balanced. You're more switched on. So the thing that we started including off the advice of Joe's knee specialist is hopping. Just doing just standing on the spot or some lateral hops before you start doing jiu-jitsu, just to get everything switched on. Because even though we don't jump necessarily a lot in jiu-jitsu, or we don't think of doing that, even though we hop if we're defending a single leg or anything like this, it's a really good way to make sure everything is prepared before you load it up with a person or you load it up with a heavy weight. And so this brings us to the third point, which is the idea of a ramp up. Now, I actually learned this many years ago from one of the guys from Westside Barbell, and he was so staunch. I mean, most guys from that gym are, but he was talking about how Louis Simmons got them all to do certain strategic ramp up weights before they hit their max working weight. And I know a lot of people who just don't do that. They might do one light set, but then just, like if they're deadlifting 100 kilos, they just jump to 100. And you're like, what are you doing?
Folks are like, no, I don't want to use all my energy.
I don't want to waste energy on
I'll
warm-up.
save it for the working sets.
But here's the thing. You have to consider that the ramp up is part of your warm up. And you're also checking in with your body. Because, my friends, I am here to save you time. I do not want you to waste time drinking Gatorade, Powerade, or any other suboptimal electrolyte drink. You know why? It's just sugar. I have the answer for you, my friends. It is Sodi, the sponsor of today's show. Sodi is the perfect mix of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And those are the salts that make your muscles work so you can choke a fool. Also, it's delicious. And when you go to Sodi, SODII.com.au and use the code bulletproof15, you get 15% off. So what you waiting for? Get the hydration, get the electrolytes, and get choking fools today. Here's the thing. Even though last time 100 kilos was normal or easy, today might be different. Today it might be easier or it might be a lot harder for various reasons. So doing the ramp up is a way to check in with yourself.
Progressively.
Yeah, because if you... Let's say, for example, you know your max deadlift is 100 kilos and you do the bar and 40 kilos and 60, you're ramping up, you get to 80 and you're like, I'm struggling. Like, I should be able to do this very easily 5 times. I can barely do it. That's feedback, but hey, maybe today is not the day that we do this because maybe you do need to back it off. So I feel that like...
People are like, I don't want to know that.
I just want to lift it. Yeah, I just want to bulge my discs, okay? Yeah. Stop holding me back. But no, the ramp up is, and this is the thing I learned from people way smarter and way stronger than me, that the ramp up is an integral part of the warm up. The workout doesn't start until you're at your working weight. So the ramp up is part of the warm up.
Absolutely. And that thing that some people mention about like, I don't want to use all my energy, that's really silly because you actually... If you do a good job of ramping up appropriately, you will be able to lift better. The most. Yeah, better. Whereas if you don't, if you go in, and we've all done this before where you've kind of shortcutted the workout for whatever reason, you've gone straight to some hard shit, it's fucking way harder than it should be. You're like, man, that 120 kilos today feels gross. And usually you go and do it again the second time and it feels totally different.
It's better,
because your body has felt it and your body has, right? Like you said, I like that. It's pulled in the resources to deal with the task at hand.
Yeah.
And we got to understand this about strength training, that we're doing a hyper-specific movement with a very specific loading. Like your body, it's very isolated in terms of what it is for your movement. And so the more you can be communicating to your body, hey, in a moment I'm going to ask you to do this. In a moment I'm going to ask you to do this. The better it's going to work with you.
Yeah.
Whereas if you shock that thing, it's going to hurt. You're going to pay a price for it.
And here's just an aside. Like I'm pretty boring, pretty methodical in a lot of ways, but it's Pavlovian, right? Like it's the idea that I'm gearing myself up psychologically for the task at hand. So having my coffee at a certain time, having some dark chocolate or having some almonds or something, like the body is like, oh shit, are we doing that thing today? Driving in the car, listening to the certain music. It's like, I'm a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. And I'm just like, yes, fuck yeah, heavy deadlifts. So then when I get to the gym, the body's like, oh, it's fucking on. Like we know now this is what's happening. And the gradual build up is a positive feedback loop because I am setting my intention that, all right, I'm picking this bar up. And each time I'm noticing how easy or hard is that? Because it's positive if you go to pick up something which is 80% of your estimated weight and it feels like nothing. You're like, oh, I'm on today. This is good. I'm ready. And so that has a very positive influence on you being ready physically and mentally to do the damn thing.
Yeah. And I guess just to sort of make that clear, like let's take the standards workout, the current one I'm working through as an example. You go and you do your warm up, right? Where we take care of a lot of this in the warm up. And then you got your like primary to upper body strength exercises, right? You got a pull of some kind and a press of some kind. And these are going to be like, these are your primary exercises. This is the heavy shit. So you will do the ramp up, right? If it's a weight, like if it's a press, if it's a kettlebell press or a bottoms up press, something like that, you can just choose a lighter kettlebell, do it that way. But if it's a pull up or something, you might do some bent over rows or some ring rows or some scap pulls as a way to get primed for that. Once you get those exercises out of the way, you then go to another set of pulling and pressing and pulling exercises. Your body's already at like peak activation. You don't need to then do ramp ups for that.
No.
Right. And it's the same as if it's your second hinge exercise and second squat. You did it all in the warm up. Your body's going really well. You can pretty much jump straight into the heavy shit now.
Yeah. Really, when you're looking at accessory work, like once you've done your primaries, obviously you want to get the most out of them. But if you've kind of given your all to the primary lifts, accessories, you're kind of doing what you can. And it doesn't mean you don't.
You're not trying to change the world.
No, it doesn't mean you don't respect them, but and give them the best you've got. But you also appreciate that, like, okay, I'm now not operating at full tank. I am warm, and I can do what I can, but it really depends on the day, and how tough those primary exercises were.
Yeah, it's a great way to put it. Like the majority of your bandwidth goes to the primary exercises.
Yes.
Yeah.
And look, there's a lot to be gained in the accessory work, but when we're talking about these warm-ups, like when we're talking about getting yourself ready, that does set you up for the rest of the workout. And if you've lifted well with your kind of first two lifts and you're feeling good, that sets the tone. There's nothing worse than you show up to the gym and you're trying to get into it, and then you're having a bit of a shit one, and then you're like, I suck today. Like you can get into a bit of a negative spiral, and then this can kind of, I guess, lower the tone and the quality for the whole session. So by setting the tone well and warming up correctly, this can mean overall it's a better session.
So, if we're talking, like we've got three things there, right? Like take the handbrakes off, get your nervous system fired up, and then get your ramp up sets in. So the ramp up sets, you're doing your primary exercise there. So that's the same exercise. So, in terms of like how many exercises you'd be putting into a warm up, if we're talking about the first two steps there, what's that look like for you?
For me, it's generally usually 3-ish exercises. So I will usually do something for my upper body specific to what I'm doing, something for my hips and my core, and something for my knees and ankles. That's usually also just seeing like, oh, how tight am I today? Like, some days are better than others. Then I might do one, maybe two, depending on time, of like a plyometric or a dynamic exercise.
Right.
So it probably shakes down to
3 to 5.
3 to 5, but it only takes, honestly, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are like, oh, it seems like so much. But you're trying to keep it moving because you are trying to elevate your body temperature and you're trying to get to the thing. So I think that's the thing that we talk ourselves out of it, like, oh, I don't have time. But actually, by missing it, then you kind of lose the opportunity to be stronger potentially.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm about the same. And you're resting during like when you get to the heavy stuff, you're taking big rest periods generally. Yep. So like you have that time there. If you got 10 minutes to do a warm up, do the warm up. Like just fucking bang it out.
Yeah.
3 exercises for it. Like pick a few things that work well for you, whether it's opening up the hips or doing some jumping, hanging, whatever. Like just cycle through. Like I make it a little circuit for myself and just fucking doing that. And that's almost for me like switching on to, okay, we're going to go do some training now.
Yeah, for sure. And look, it is the smallest investment you can make to get big returns from your workout. So we do all this other stuff, right, to try and get stronger and feel better. And I think that this approach is applicable to jiu-jitsu as well.
Yeah.
And we do tend to miss out on it. But by taking that extra 10 minutes before class and limbering up and G'ing up the nervous system and all these things, the ramp up is kind of built into the class. So yeah, you know, even if your class does a specific warm up or games or whatever they do at your academy, taking a little bit of time to prep the body, it goes a long way for you to be better prepared for jiu-jitsu as well as the gym. There it is, folks. Bus, be prepared, get strong.